Welcome everyone. Today we're going to go through 5 top tips on how to make a YouTube channel in regards to doing battle reports for Warhammer. Now we put together 5 tips that we think is really important when it comes to creating content when doing battle reports. And even if you're not, maybe this will give you some type of insight on what we do or what we put into creating a battle report. So let's just go straight into it, and let's go straight into it hard. So tip number 1.
Are you going to do all the tips?
No.
Am I going to talk?
You're going to talk.
Sure. Okay, go on. Tip number 1.
Tip number 1.
Tip number 1, the battlefield. Right.
Battlefield is the crucial part of the game.
What's it made up of?
Terrain,
Yeah.
armies, and mats.
Armies we're going to leave out for today. Self-explanatory. A lot to cover on them.
Hell of a lot to cover on them.
Let's talk about the mats. Let's talk about the terrain.
Really important that you have some really cool mats when you're doing a battle report. A nice gaming map will make a massive great difference how your battle report comes across on camera. And then think about when you're using your scenery, make sure the scenery actually matches with the board. Really crucial. Nothing worse than having a nice green mat with a snowy terrain base. Don't kind of work really, does it?
Not really, no. Depends what your models are based like as well. We kind of keep ours quite neutral. And the next thing that you need to consider, or before we even jump onto the terrain, what about mats? Like, I mean, you can get them everywhere and anywhere. At this stage, it's worth mentioning our sponsor, Game Mat EU. We actually used to buy our mats from them before they were actually a sponsor. So I've absolutely no problem endorsing them and saying that they really are at the top. There's other places you can go, different price points, but
yeah, there's some really cool gaming mats out there. We've just specifically gone with that specific brand only because we like what we see on those, the mats they provide. We like them, and they look really cool for what we're doing. And then again, terrain, we use a lot of GW's terrain, but we've also got a lot of Game Mat EU's terrain, and we've also got some.
You're kind of the terrain guy, aren't you?
Something like that. I don't know how I got roped into just kind of work like that.
You kind of do everything.
And we've got a lot of cool MDF stuff coming out, so I nearly lost my words there.
Yeah. We don't, I mean, how much terrain have we got now?
We've got enough to do 30 tables worth of terrain.
Yeah, and it makes a big difference. So if you're going to be the content creators and you're going to push out battle reports, you got to think about what you would want to watch in a battle report, not just kind of what you have lying around your house. So,
That's great.
Put the effort in. Really paint up your terrain, make it look a little bit special.
Yeah,
really does make a difference on the camera.
When recording your battle report and you've sorted out your terrain and you sorted out your map, think about your surroundings. So with ourselves, in our studio, we've pretty much used curtains to cover up and hide what we don't want people to see, as in like we don't want other people to see the studio, stuff that we've got hidden behind the curtains, like storage and things like that. That's one tip that we can give yourself. It makes your battle report look much more cooler, much more professional. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people out there just doing a plain white room, and they also look absolutely stunning. Last thing I would put on that is when you're recording, think about the noise around you. Now, there's a couple of battle reports that we've done where one battle report where the dogs had an echo, but we sorted that with sound.
We had the birds. I had a dog barking today in my battle report.
And it's little things that you can't help, but if there's something that you can control, like that you've got a little one that's going to scream her head off, think about just hitting pause on that record and just come back to it once you set the little one off.
Soundproofing's a big one, actually.
Awesome a tip. Soundproofing's the way forward.
Yeah. Google it. What do you want to say?
Well, you can't say. Well, we're giving you top 5 tips. We're telling you to Google it.
Right. Tip number 2 is lighting. This is the lighting expert.
I want to talk about expert. When doing a battle report, it's really important that when you record that battle report, that you're in a room that's well lit. If you're going to record in your basement or in the loft, if you've only got one small little lamp that's above the tabletop itself, it's not going to give you, when you're recording that battle report, you're not going to see what's actually going on the tabletop itself. So really, really important that you actually go out and actually invest in some nice lighting for the actual tabletop itself.
How much have we invested in lighting?
So far, we've invested £110 on 3 big studio lights, and then I put a strip light just directly above the gaming table itself, plus LED lights into the gaming table.
LED lights were an amazing shout.
It's a really, really cool shout. It's not unnecessary. That's what we've done.
Unnecessary or necessary? It's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
But
As you can tell, I'm not a wordsmith. Erebus and me wouldn't get on.
no, not at all. But you are a genius with lights.
Thank you very much, sir.
How much did you pay for the little LEDs that you put
So
on the
the
table?
LED lights cost me about £50-60 for the LED lights. With the LED lights that we've got in the gaming table, if you've seen any of our battle reports, they do change.
Yeah, got this handy
Depending
remote.
on the mats that we put down, they will change to the colour of the mat that we put down. And
Makes
that's
a big difference to
and
the
it-
actual armies, and just the glows in the background are pretty cool.
something that I like.
that
But
too.
it's not everyone does that, and it's something that we've chosen to do. That might be something for yourselves. It may not be.
21K.
The LED parts is something that we've chucked in there. But when it comes to lighting, just make sure that your tabletop has got plenty of light. So when you're recording, you can
There's no
capture
shadows.
all that detail.
Yeah, and the
And
shadows,
the shadows
is the other
is
one.
really, really important. Yeah.
Because that's really like the buildings themselves, like they're big enough that if you don't have lighting coming from every angle, you're just going to have strange shadows, and it's going to look a little bit odd.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
I mean,
how Stranger Things like things.
this is just our advice. What do we know?
That's it. Hopefully the Battle Force will tell otherwise.
Where would you go to get lighting, natural lighting as well? That's really important. Like, because
Yes.
if you don't know this, I mean, I'm no expert, and I just know to get natural lighting for painting, and it makes the models look better. But normal lights have a yellowish tint to them. Is
Yeah,
that right?
that's great. So like the light we've got above the gaming table itself, that's a natural daylight bulb. That makes a big difference. If you go for just like a warm light, it kind of gives like a yellowy tinge to your battle reports. You can do that, but if you want the best effects, I would highly recommend that you go down and just get a natural light bulb.
Where does someone get that from? Just
That-
Amazon, the shop?
Amazon, most DIY shops will sell natural lighting. That's not something that, it's not a specialist thing. It is widely purchased pretty much anyway.
You kind of want it for your painting table as well. Not the
They're
big
not
lights,
very
but-
expensive neither. That's the main point. The natural
Yeah.
light bulbs are not very expensive, but it's something that I
Photography
would,
shops, they would do it as well.
Yes, they would do, but I don't think that's something that they were special in. It's more like just a DIY, local DIY store is where you're going to go to get natural light bulbs. But otherwise, you can purchase them off the internet, and they're not very expensive off the internet.
Number 3.
Tip number 3.
Don't do that. Do a better one.
Tip
You
number
do
3.
really weird.
Tip number 3.
Don't do.
Tip number 3.
Stop that.
Tip number
Stop
3.
touching any of the tips. There'll be no tips touched today.
Tips.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to do it now. Massive. Tip number 3, recording equipment.
Yes. When doing the battle reports, when we first started doing battle reports, believe it or not, we started off with just a mobile phone to record our
Okay.
battle reports.
Just an iPhone.
Just an iPhone, and we were starting off with the iPhone 6, if I remember rightly as well.
Yeah, 6 Plus. God, that was my first phone.
Yeah.
That wasn't my first phone. I had other phones, but
It's only just been bought, so it's like.
I,
But no, for myself, it was the iPhone 6. You had the iPhone 6 Plus showing off with the bigger phone,
it's too big for me. I have like really small hands.
and you broke it as well.
I did broke the screen
You
and it went.
broke it.
And then I got an iPhone X, and admittedly, an iPhone X is it's not top of the range, but it's quite expensive. But my point there is, like, a lot of the smartphones that you can get nowadays have pretty decent quality cameras and sound in them, and
That's correct. Yeah. So the microphone on the camera on the phones are really good.
you
Picture
could get an
quality's great.
external microphone and plug it in. I haven't done that. You've actually gone out and just bought yourself a new camera.
Yeah, but like if you are going to use it off your phone, make sure that you've got a decent sized memory to go with your phone. If you've got like a cheap iPhone and you've only got like the 8 GB or the 16 GB,
Yeah, that's gonna
that
be bad.
memory is going to run out very, very quickly, and you find that you will not get a battle report through, and you'll be uploading it to YouTube before you've actually finished the actual battle report off. So Really, really good tip on that one. If you're going to use it off
I
your
think I
phone,
went for 256 gigabyte, and I can get multiple battle reports on there.
you can get loads.
Battle report comes to about, kind of guessing now, is about between 20 and 30 gigabytes per report. You just get a couple of them on there, you can wipe them off when you need to. And by the way, we're in no way experts with this. There are multiple blogs that you can go away, you can research on. There's STLRs I know some YouTubers use. John uses a Canon camera. You've just bought yourself a Sony camera.
So we've just gone out and broke the bank, and we've gone for the Sony AX53. It's about 850 quid's worth of camera. But for what it does for ourselves, it does allow us to have that little bit more flexibility when moving around the tabletop itself.
You really demo that quite well.
The picture quality is a lot sharper, a lot clearer. It does give us the option if we want to go to 4K, which potentially could be something in the future. But it's also, for myself with the camera, it's got the auto gimbal in it as well. So I've gone for the extra, more expensive
Just
camera.
steadies it, doesn't it?
That's great. So when you're moving around the battle top, when you're recording a battle report, spit my words out, as you're moving around, that you will find that you get a slight judder on the actual camera itself. With this one, I've got that ability to stabilize it out. So as I'm recording through, it will give a much nicer and smoother and crisper record to the actual to the battle report itself. Tip number 4, editing software. You've spent a long time recording the battle report. Now it's time to think about uploading it to your computer, whether you're using Mac or whether you're using PC, and what type of software you're going to use for the editing. Now, Sean is the best one to speak about this because we've done a lot actually.
I mean, you're using Final Cut Pro.
Yep.
Which you're paying for, which costs what, £300?
Cost me 300 quid up front for the actual editing software itself.
But it's quite good, right? Like,
it's good.
I
really like Final Cut Pro. There's a lot. I've never used it before. This is like the first time I've ever done any type of editing software altogether.
Yeah. I use iMovies. I at the minute I've got iMovies and I've got Adobe, and I don't pay for the iMovies, and it's just as good as Adobe. It depends what your skill set's like, how tech savvy you are, how much time you want to invest in it. But you know, the reports that you're doing at the minute are light years ahead of what I'm putting out. John uses free software as well, so there's no right and wrongs to it.
It's what you feel comfortable doing.
You can spend
just because
a lot of money.
Because I'm going for Final Cut Pro, there's nothing stopping you using iMovie or free software and do something similar to what we're doing already. You know, there's a lot of very good channels out there that are doing stuff on the free stuff. So don't feel that you have to spend loads of money on the video editing software. You can just get away with just using the free stuff. At the beginning, that's all I was using was the iMovie. I think it's more the extra features what the Final Cut Pro offered myself that made me go down that route. Now, we made a big mistake when we first started doing it.
Yeah, we picked the wrong software. We should have just... You can start somewhere with free software. You can, you know, invest £300 if you have it, and that's affordable to you in Final Cut Pro. But I think when we first started, we invested in an enterprise SaaS software from Adobe, which was like Creative Cloud, and it didn't work. And it didn't work for 2 years. It was in kind of beta stage, and I think we must have spent about £250, and it didn't work. And in the end, we just asked for money back, and we actually got some of it back, and we just changed to like a single license, and it was easier. But I think I ended up paying that for like 8 months, and it just didn't work. And
it wasn't for ourselves.
Lesson for yourself: save yourself some money. Use iMovies or Final Cut Pro.
And then when it comes to editing, think about your thumbnails. So when you're putting the actual battle report up onto YouTube, think about your thumbnails. Make sure you got it to the right size. Sean, do you remember the size of the thumbnails got to be?
I always Google it.
1280 by 720.
720, that's right.
Really, really important. Make sure your thumbnails are clear, precise, and it says exactly what you've got. What you're going to actually use on your battle report.
Look at everybody else's thumbnail and copy them. Just look at what they do. Everybody nearly does the same one. You can have your own little tweaks and gimmicks, but if I was starting out, just go on there, look at what we're doing, look at what all the other channels are doing, and try something like that. I think that's good advice.
I think everyone copies everyone, so
I think it's good advice.
It's definitely well worth looking upon that, because that's really crucial. And again, just think about what type of software that you're using for that. There's lots of cool free software out there you can use for the thumbnail. So again, you don't have to spend big money to do that.
I actually use what's it called, Photoshop.
Yep.
By Adobe, and I had someone who gave me a lesson on it, and now I can do my own bespoke ones really, really nicely, and it's easier than you think it is, but very technical when you don't know how to use the software. But find someone who knows to show you. And there you go. That's some good advice there.
Some good YouTube channels out there.
Yeah, there are two actually.
No, there is, and that's the beautiful thing about this hobby. If anything you're not sure of, like when it comes to editing or anything like that, YouTube is going to be your best friend. There's going to be a lot of cool people out there that's got a lot more experience that are willing to tell you and give you that advice that you need to do various little tricks and tips that you need to do when you're editing or even just doing that cool thumbnail. Cool. Tip number 5. Now this is a really important one. Be yourself.
It's so important. In the short to medium term, it's going to take a lot of effort. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have to treat a lot of people with respect. There's a huge amount of effort that goes on behind the scenes, not just from the 3 people who are doing Twisted Dice, pretty much everybody that we've interacted with. But on top of that, you will go on an adventure. You'll get to make some great friends. You'll see some great places. Think of some of the events that we've gone to since we kind of got into the hobby and did all
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Yeah, sure. What have we done? Think about it. We've Gibraltar.
We've been
Done
to
that a couple of
Gibraltar,
times.
we've been to Vegas.
Vegas has been good. LVO.
Vegas was big. That was a really big one. Expensive one, but it was a big one.
You just kind of meet people in the hobby. So there's a lot of people out there. You'll actually find a lot of content creators out there, and they've all gone through the same thing. And you generally bump into them at events, or you can drop them a message, and pretty much 99% of the time they'll...
If this is something that you really enjoy doing, and you know, just say, be yourself, put your passion in there. Last thing we want to see when people want to see on camera is if you're
What are you trying to say? Get your words
grumpy.
out. Yeah, nobody wants to see someone.
No one wants to see that. So be yourself, be be lively, have a bit of banter.
Enjoy it.
Banter's really cool. Enjoy it. That's a good one.
Don't
really,
expect.
really enjoy it.
Like, the one I would say is just don't expect to make money out of it. Like if you expect that, like on day one,
Money.
you're not gonna.
Forget about the money side of things because like that's something that doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
Unless-
it's just the experience.
You got to do a battle report because you want to do a battle report because you enjoy doing the battle report, enjoy playing the games, enjoy having fun. When we do a battle report, I enjoy every game that I have. Really enjoy the people that I get to play. We have some really awesome games, and as Sean
There's some
said,
really interesting people along
we've
the way.
met some awesome people. We've met some really interesting people. It's been a really cool journey so far, and we've really really enjoyed it. And
My paintings actually got better.
he's actually painted a couple of models. That's the crucial thing. I know it doesn't seem it.
We actually started Twisted Dice just because we were friends, and I was moving away, and we just wanted to have something to do in the evenings. And I don't know how we did it. And somewhere along the way, I found John, and then I introduced him to you, and now we
Do battle reports.
we live in Darren's shed for like hours on end when we get together.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and if you go on this journey and we can be part of your journey and you want to ask us any questions, feel free, drop us something in the comments, and
Thank you ever so much for watching our 5 top tips.
we do appreciate it.
It's been awesome. We've had fun making this. We've had a lot of fun. Please do drop some comments down below on your thoughts on this 5-tip guide. If you found it useful, whether you found it funny, or whether you just think we're a couple of nincompoops and we shouldn't do no more.
Yeah,
Tough, we're going to do them anyway. So
I think these are good, and hopefully you like the studio, find it interesting.
look, we don't claim to be experts in
We're
any
definitely not
means,
experts.
but
I'm sure we've said that multiple
yeah,
times now.
but we just want to
We
share.
are not experts in this.
We just want to share what we've learned so far back to the community. That's all.
That's
It's
really generous of you.
It's cool. It's
That's so kind of you.
so cool to work with the rest of the
Say
people.
goodbye to them.
He's walking off.
I'm gone.
I'm going to say goodbye.
I'm done.
Cheers.
I'm turning the lights off. Turn the lights off.